Hi. So today I'm going to talk to you about The Artist Way by Julia Cameron, Week 3. Week 3 is all about recovering a sense of power. And let me tell you, when I read that, I was like, yay, this is going to be so easy because I'm empowered and I'm more than willing and open and accepting to be even more empowered. So let's do this. And I'm jumping in like 10 steps in, right? Yay. And then I read the subheading. And then I was like, oh shit, this is gonna suck ass. And if you want to know what that subheading was, click subscribe. There you go. All right, the subheading, anger. Ugh, I know. And I know anger well. So she talks about anger and how, a lot of us deny it, hide it, bury it, stuff it, however it may be. And then, of course, how that, is a counter to what it really is meant to be, because she sees anger as fuel. She sees it as something that needs to be listened to, that it's a voice, that it's a plea, a demand. Okay, fair enough. That's not the anger I know. No. Well, the anger is more like rage, and it would consume, and it would often come out of nowhere. Usually for unexpecting people, which I'm kind of not grateful for. I feel that people close to me haven't really experienced the wrath of the rage. Oh, they got snippets, but they would never gotten the wrath. And I'm thankful for that. Although I'm sure they may have been a little scared to be witness to some of the explosive episodes I may have had. Those were many years ago. Anyway, rage. And so she talks, though, about that it's a voice, that you need to listen to it, and you need to respect it, because it's a map, right? And it's a map to show us where our boundaries are. It's a map to show us where we're at, what we liked, what we experienced, what we don't like. And that it not only points a finger, but it points the way. In the recovery of a blocked artist, as she says, anger is a sign of health. Okay. So she basically talks about anger needing to be acted upon, not acted on. Did I say that right? Hang on. Anger is meant to be acted upon. It is not meant to be acted out. There you go. Which we all know, right? But then she goes a little bit different. She takes it a little bit further than what I'm used to. Like, we all know that anger is really not, it's a secondary emotion, right? It's probably, I'd even say, way more than secondary. I think there's a whole bunch of layers of different emotions that it's covering up, right? But she kind of looks at it a little bit different, or kind of clicked differently with me when she said it, is that it's giving you a message, right? Anger is, and I always said that anger, behavior is an expression of an unmet need. Okay. And so when you see that behavior, when you see that explosive episode, what need is not being met? And half the time the person won't even know, but that's just kind of go to when you're trying to respond to a person who is dysregulated and having an episode. But anyway, she's saying that this anger is actually a message for you, and to reframe the message. And so, or what it's telling you. So I'm actually going to read what she said, because I think she can say it better than what I can, and I'm trying to process. Got it? Okay. So, for example, you have the thought, blast him. I could make a better film than that. It actually says blast him. And so she's saying that the anger says, you want to make movies. You need to learn how. Oh, I would never have gone there. Next one. I can't believe it. I had this idea for the play 3 years ago, and she's gone and written it. Okay, so what she's saying is that anger is saying, stop procrastinating. Ideas don't get opening nights. Finished plays do. Start writing. Wow, I wouldn't have gotten that either. And then so basically what she's saying is, when we feel anger, we are often very angry that we feel the anger. Damn anger. Interesting, hey? I thought so too. And what she's trying to say is that it's telling us that our life is, or our way of life is changing, or it's gone. And that's why we're angry. So I just kind of like really reframing the whole anger thing, let me tell you. And so out of my notes, I kind of picked up things where she's like, okay, I talked about the anger being a fuel and that we are to take action, that it is meant to respond to the message that the anger is giving us, right? Anger is the firestorm that signals the death of our old life. I'm not quite understanding that part yet. Anger is a tool, not a master. Okay, that's good. I can get that. How anger is a loyal friend. So she's really trying to get you to reframe the whole idea of anger being the enemy, right? And it kind of goes a little bit against the, every behavior is expression of an unmet need. Okay. So she's talking about it being a loyal friend because it tells us when we feel like we betrayed ourselves. It tells us that we should, or it's time to act on something. I thought that was really interesting. Just her reframe of the anger, and I'm going to have to sit with that and process it a little bit. I'd be really interested to hear what you guys thought about that, though. So that was the anger part, and I think that's all I wanted to say. So then she starts talking about synchronicity, which we know Deepak talks about, and Mel Robbins even had a podcast about it. So right away, when she starts bringing that up, I'm like, whoa, more evidence, I'm on the right path. I'm learning what I need to learn. And so she's kind of at first they took her a little bit different. I thought she was saying the opposite of what they were saying. Like I got a little confused a little bit about how she was trying to say it. Because she starts off by saying, wishes that are granted, or she actually says answered prayers are scary. Because they actually imply responsibility. That if you get what you wished for, it's kind of like, okay, you got it. Now what are you going to do? What are you going to do with it? It's kind of, when you think about it, pressure put on you. Like, really? So I get where she's coming from with that. I never saw it that way, but I get it. You'd be scared of it actually happening. She kind of talked about God in there and how some people actually hope that God's not real, right? Because they don't want to have him to be real when judgment comes. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, I get it. And I can see it'd be scary. And we know that the unknown is scary. And we know that fear, contributes to the anger and doubt and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, she starts talking about synchronicity. And he talks about how like coincidence, pop-up opportunities, encouragements, encounters and stuff that encourage us to continue doing what we're doing. Or how she actually kind of talked about how it pops up and how we downplay it. How when it's happening, we don't acknowledge that it's actually happening. We don't link it to be a sign or evidence. She says something like this. A woman admits to a buried dream of acting. At dinner the next night, she sits beside a man who teaches beginning actors. Yeah, okay. Remember, this is the artist way, so all of her examples are going to be like that kind of stuff. She says a woman is thinking about going back to school, opens her mail to find a letter requesting her application from the very school she was thinking about going to. Wow, man, if that ever happened to me, I would be like, whoa, that is not only like a sign, it's like the arrow, like Las Vegas flashing lights. All you would need is someone to actually pay for it, be like tuition paid for. Oh, but anyway, but she's talking about how sometimes those things happen and we just downplay it. That it's not evidence, that it's a coincidence, not that it's telling us it's on our path and all that kind of stuff. That's when her whole statement about God, people not wanting him to be real, because then they'd have that responsibility, right? So that was kind of interesting how she did that. But that whole topic really kind of went, oh my God, Mel Robbins just talked about that. She had the train your mind how and why the science of synchronicity can improve your life, and how she's always talking about being really aware of it and look for it. Look for it everywhere. And the more that you see it, you train your brain to see it, the more you're going to see it, then the more that it comes. It's really actually kind of cool when you think about it, right? Who would have thought? The play of the universe that spreads the banquet of the universe before you. Pay attention to coincidences. Listen to the messages they bring and live in abundance of the synchronicity. So that's actually Deepak who said that. But I really like that. And the more that you see it, the more evidence, the less anxious you're going to feel, because you know you're on the right path. You know you're supposed to be where you're at. And of course, that makes you really resilient. So I think that's really cool. I'm not going to go in about the Mel Robbins podcast there, but I will later. And I just want you to know that it was really cool that I had all these 3 different areas kind of all come and present itself within the same time frame, which only reinforces what I believe, that I am on the right path. Okay. So, anything else I want to say here? Oh, here's something she said. Never ask if you can do something. Rather, say you are doing it. And then fasten your seatbelt, because it's going to happen. So I think that's maybe not saying a prayer like, may I have this, or I wish I have this, just saying I am doing this. Yeah, I think that's what it is. You just need to choose what you want, and how will just fall into place. So you don't have to worry about that. Trust the universe to take care of it. Oh my goodness, I was just listening to Gabby somebody, and I apologize, I can't remember her last name, but she is a speaker, and she was talking about just trusting the universe to take care of it. She says that we are given gifts and doors are opening all the time, but we choose to ignore it and just kind of walk away, turn our backs to it, because we're scared of success. So she says, you know how we always say we're scared of failure? She says that we're scared of success. And I actually really like that, because it's that whole putting responsibility on it. Like, oh my goodness, it happened. Now what? Kind of scares you maybe a little bit. I could see that. And basically just what she's saying though is know what you want, and then just take those small steps in the direction of the dream which you want to, and then the doors of synchronicity just open up. And that kind of goes with everything that Mel Robbins was talking about and everything that Deepak was talking about. So that was actually kind of an interesting little section, and a lot of little aha moments along the way. And then we move to, let me just get back to my page here. Oh yeah, this is several pages. Shame. Ooh, yeah. And I kind of struggled a little bit with this section again, because again, in my other life, kind of work with the shame-based identity and that core belief that you're unlovable, that you're unworthy, that you're bad to the core, right? And she talks about the shame similar, about how it comes from when you're a child, when you're young, and you know your art wasn't celebrated, or you're put down for believing in yourself, or you know all the things that we all, or many of us, grew up with, just no encouragement. And then how even it's so deep within you that I just saw something like walk across the patio, and I'm up in the air, so it was kind of weird. We're just gonna say it was a bird or something. Anyway, sorry about that. I'm not redoing the video. Anyway, then she starts talking about the shame and how it is so like embedded in you that you're actually scared to finish a piece of art that you're working on, or maybe to start. But a lot of artists will struggle finishing their work, because finishing the work actually creates shame for them, right? And then of course the whole thing about critics, and how critics may sometimes purposely try to shame, or maybe just their criticism could be taken that way. That was a lot that she had spoken about that, so being aware of that kind of stuff. Let me just go here and see. And so then those who are held down by fear, you know, sabotage is because of shame. Shame is enemy, shame is controlling. And shaming someone is an attempt to prevent that person from behaving in a way that embarrasses us. Wow. That's, I never saw it that way with the embarrassing part. I have a little bit of a problem with that, especially when I think about the shame-based identity piece. But even when I think about, you know, how some criminal offenses or some communities or whatever will try to shame somebody that did something wrong, whether they stole and they make them wear like a sign and walk across the street or whatever saying I stole, whatever they do, right? They try to shame that way. Is that out of embarrassment though? I think we shame to correct behavior, or maybe not correct behavior, that well, yeah, to correct, but to shame, to punish, to correct, to get them to do what we want them to do. But embarrassing, I thought that was a really weird choice of word, that's all. And I'm not quite there with that. Again, she also talked about how making a piece of art may even feel like telling a family secret. That one kind of made sense. I get it, especially when you have that shame you carry. So when you do art, you're putting yourself out there. It's your expression, it's your opinion, it's your belief, it's your thought, it's represents you, I would think, right? And then if you put it out there, you're at risk of somebody finding out the real you. Maybe you're going to be exposed. So I get that, and shame comes from when you're little. So that family secret thing, I get the connection. Okay. And then, of course, she talks about that being a secret then, right? And the secret is actually asking the question, what will they think of me once they know this about me? Fair enough. I can get that. And that kind of brought up some things. But then she also talked about how art kind of like highlights some of the things that are wrong or hard or not right in the world, right? How art could be expression and bring things to light is the word she does. It casts a beam into the heart of our darkness. Yeah, you know that whole saying, don't kill the messenger kind of idea? That's what she's talking about. And then she talks about people get mad over things that they don't want to see, which is why a lot of art might be criticized, because it's highlighting, you know, the poverty or the third world conditions or treatment of women, or however it may be. But art can also bring healing. But first it has to be seen. So she kind of talks about that a little bit. And I guess that brought up something. She talks about also how many artists who have been shamed as a child with their art or what have you, will grow up with detachment. Actually, how she says it, adults who grew up in dysfunctional homes learn to use a coping strategy of detachment. Kind of numbing out. Yeah, and I think people use alcohol and drugs to do that as well, and various other things. But that's what she's talking about. And child learns to put away their work, doesn't share anything, because sharing what they create or sharing their belief about themselves can be dangerous because they end up getting hurt. Right. And always going back to that mindset that your internal artist is like your inner child, which I actually kind of relate to. I can get that. So, yeah, that's about her shame piece. I'm not going to go on about that. But she does, let me just go page 72. Now she gets into some good stuff, though. Like dealing with criticism. And I'm going to kind of write down what she wrote down. There are some certain rules of the road, as she calls them, useful in dealing with any form of criticism. Because we know criticism is going to get those committee of assholes just the nattering and get that self-doubt and that inner child hurting. So here are her rules. Number 1, receive the criticism all the way through and get it over with. So I guess that means sit there and kind of listen to it, right? You gotta hear it. Okay. Jot down notes to yourself on what concepts or phrases bothers you. Jot down notes on what concepts or phrases seem useful. Do something very nurturing for yourself. Read a good old review or recall a compliment. Remember that even if you have made a truly rotten piece of art, and it may be a necessary stepping stone to your next work. Art matures, and requires ugly duckling growth stages. Well, I guess that makes sense, right? You got to practice to be good, at least some of us. But this here reminds me of that podcast that I watched, yes, with Mel Robbins, and it wasn't watched, listened to, and how it was identified that a setback, to me, criticism, a setback could be a setup, right? And so you take that criticism, and yeah, you'd have to kind of flush out the stuff that stung or whatever, right? But really look at what was useful, because they might have a really good point. And they're like, oh, that was kind of good. Oh, I never thought of that. Oh, good idea. I'll just add a little bit of yellow. I don't know. Something like that. Again, number 6, look at criticism again. Does it remind you of any criticism from your past, particularly shaming childhood criticism? Acknowledge to yourself that the current criticism is triggering grief over a long-standing wound. Everything always goes back to your childhood. 7, write a letter to the critic, not to be mailed, most probably. Defend your work and acknowledge what was helpful, if anything, in the criticism pre-offered. 8, get back on the horse. Make an immediate commitment to do something creative. And 9, do it. Creativity is the only cure for criticism. Oh, that's nice. So yeah, anyway, that was her dealing with criticism. I actually really like the idea, though, about jotting it down, the ones that bothered you and the ones that you actually find helpful. So I like that, and I'm going to walk away with that. The next part, she talks about detective work and exercise. Oh dear. This one, it's hard. This one's actually really hard. I know I'm struggling with the book, 3,000 Questions About Me, right? And I have such a hard time, and these are such basic things, so I am going to do this with you. I wrote some down, but I think I'm just going to read what I got here. You ready? Here we go. My favorite childhood toy. I can't remember. But I do remember I had a doll named Amanda. She was a rag doll and wore a green dress, and her head came off. I had her for a really, really long time, but I don't know what happened to her, and I don't remember any dolls. Oh, I actually remember paper dolls. I remember being sick and having paper dolls, but that's all I remember. 2, my favorite childhood game was, again, I can't remember any early childhood games. I do remember being a teenager and playing Life. 3, the best movie I ever saw as a kid was, again, I can't tell you. I don't have any memory of watching any movies when I was a kid. Except I do remember, sneaking behind the couch. I was crawling on the couch, like behind it. They were watching Psycho. And it was the scene with the shower curtain and the knife. And I remember being terrified. And I also remember not being able to have a shower for a very long time. But that's all I remember there. But that's not the best movie I ever saw as a kid. 4, I don't do it much, but I enjoy jumping in the puddles. If I could lighten up a little, I'd let myself. I am lightened up. I'll do whatever the hell I want to do. 6, if it weren't too late, it's not too late, and I'll do whatever the fuck I want to do. Oh my God, I like this. That's me embracing aging. Yeah, that's right. I'm 49 years old, and if I want to get my PhD, I will. And if I want to create my own company, I will. And if I want to go to Africa, I will. I'll just avoid some areas. 6, if it weren't too late. Oh, I already said that, sorry. 7, my favorite musical instrument is piano. 8, the amount of money I spend on treating myself to entertainment each month is, that's a hard one. Prior to COVID, I used to go out a lot, really, and go to concerts and comedy clubs and whatever. I was all over. So I used to spend a lot kind of simmered down during COVID, obviously, and then now I don't do much. 9. If I weren't so stingy with my artist, I'd buy him or her camera. I would buy camera equipment. Yes, I would. Taking time out for myself is awesome. Highly recommend it. Do it all the time, and I own it. I'm afraid that if I start dreaming, I'm trying to figure out how to dream. I'm working on that, but I'm not afraid to dream anymore. 12. I secretly enjoy reading. Again, I'm not quite sure what I secretly enjoy reading, because I'll read anything if I enjoy it, and it won't be a secret. 13. If I had a perfect childhood, I would have grown up to be like a forensic psychiatrist / author. Yeah, I would have. Whether it be textbooks, maybe some kind of crime book, I don't know, profiling. I would have created an assessment of some sort. Oh yeah, I've always said that. Could you imagine if I came from a really good place, what I could be right now? Yeah. If it didn't sound so crazy, I'd write or make a... Well, I don't think it sounds crazy. So I would write a novel? I'd write a book. 15. My parents think artists are probably stupid, starving. 16. The divine thinks artists are creative, knowing, authentic. 17. What makes me feel weird about this recovery is that I'm calling it recovery, that I never considered myself artist, to be artistic or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm still struggling with that whole recovering artist thing. It's that rediscovering the artist, or not even rediscovering, just discovering, uncovering. Ha! There we go. Uncovering the artist. 18. Learning to trust myself is I am learning to trust myself and my inner instincts. 19. My most cheer me up music is, you know what it really is? Jimmy Eat World, The Middle. That's right. Those who know me, crank it up when I was kind of feeling down. I needed that get up and go encouragement. I needed that fuck you, I got this, put my boots on and out I go. Yeah, and I still listen to it. Although it's not my favorite song. And 20. My favorite way to dress is... That was a weird one, hey? But my favorite way to dress would be comfortable, right? Oh my God, I'm 49 years old. I want to be fucking comfortable and I don't want to be cold. Although, I don't like wearing a jacket, so there's a whole thing there. But whatever, that's a me thing. Anyway, those were the questions. But as you noticed, some of them were really hard and I couldn't answer. And then she talks about growth, finally. And about, it's to be expected that you'll do some growth, a couple steps forward and a couple steps back. There's like a cat out there and it's not mine. Sorry. I want to finish this and then I'm going to go. Talk about growth and about how you can go forward, but you are also going to go back. And to just be aware of that and to be patient with yourself, to be kind. I think I might have written something about that. Give me a minute. Yeah. Growth is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Be gentle with yourself. Creative recovery is a healing process. Growth occurs in spurts, so you will have some downtime. I totally can appreciate that. Practice being kind to yourself every day. I've been doing that for over a year. It was hard at first to be kind to yourself, but that's a whole other video. If you do one nice thing for you, the universe will do 2 more. I like that. Be alert for people supporting you. Be open to receiving the gifts. Practice saying yes. And then she says something really interesting. Experiment with solitude. And she calls it quiet time. But she doesn't say meditate. I thought that was very interesting. But, you know, getting to that quiet, to that stillness, that's where you get to that abundance, pure potentiality. And then she says, make sure you do a check-in with yourself, ask yourself how you're feeling, you know, listen to your answer, respond kindly. So she's saying doing that every day, do a check-in numerous times throughout the day. I can try. Sometimes you just forget. Well, it takes like, what, 28 days to make a habit? And if you're doing something really hard, give yourself a break. Do something nice afterwards. Yeah, always reward yourself for doing something shitty or something you don't want to do. And that is basically the introduction to week 3 of rediscovering yourself. Or your power, pardon me. Rediscovering your power. And then I will be back with the tasks. Oh, I haven't even read the tasks yet. Well, let's see what they are. Oh, no. Oh, see, I pre-read everything else, but I don't read the tasks. And I just saw the first one. Describe your childhood room. Oh, boy. I have no memory. It's going to be hard. Describe 5 traits you like in yourself as a child. List 5 childhood accomplishments. Oh my God. Number 4, habits. Take a look at your habits. I'm okay with that. 5, make a list of friends who nurture you. I can give you more than 5. 6, call a friend who treats you like you are a really good and bright person who can accomplish things. Part of your recovery is reaching out for support. Oh my God, that's already easy. I already do that. 7, inner compass. Each of us have an inner compass. This is an instinct that points us towards our health. It warns us when we are dangerous ground, and it tells us when something is safe and good for us. Oh, and morning pages are a way to connect. Okay, so we'll do that. List 5 people you admire. And now 5 people you secretly admire. Ooh, that could be a good one. And compare the 2 lists of the people you admire and the people you secretly admire. All right. So that's what I'll be working on. Yay. I'm not looking forward to it. Not going to lie. So maybe I'll do a hard one first, and then I will do an easy one afterwards. There you go. Reward yourself. Take care of you, and thank you for being part of my journey. Remember, I'm evidence.